You're listening to the UTalk Hockey Podcast with your hosts Champ and Denz. What is up, UTalk Hockey Nation? We are here with the most special episode that UTalk Hockey has ever put up in the UTalk Hockey world.
In all 10 episodes.
In all 10 episodes that we have ever had. This is a very special episode because we have a very special guest with us. We had mentioned who he was a few episodes back. If you haven't watched or listened yet, go back and watch them. But today we have the Kevin McCloskey, the general manager of the Utah Outliers. Kevin, welcome to the show, man.
Well, let me tell you, Caden and Sam, thank you very much. It was great having you up to the arena under construction in Park City a few weeks ago. And you guys have done, you said 10 episodes. I was kind of thinking it was about 7.
Okay.
So,
you missed the first few really bad ones.
I shortchanged you a little bit. I apologize. It's great to be on. It's a crazy time of year for hockey, even though the season's now over. You had the awards earlier today or this evening. You just finished the Cup on Monday evening in Florida. And of course, the draft starts round 1 tomorrow and 2 through 7 Saturday. And then, for the Coyotes or the former Coyotes, I'll make that mistake a few times here.
Yeah, we all have.
Free agency starts on Monday at 10 a.m.
July 1.
It's a fun time. Thanks for having me, and we'll have some fun this evening.
Excellent. Well, let's dive right in to one of our first questions that we were hoping to kind of get your background about your hockey origins, where it began. We were going to provide an intro, but the best intro, I think, just comes from the man himself, right? So tell us about your hockey origins and what you're doing now in the hockey community in Utah as the excitement's been just building because of Utah hockey coming to Utah.
So I'll give you the Coles Notes version of the origins because it's a long time ago.
Yes.
I was 6 years old and I started figure skating in Rockville, Maryland. Actually, it was Wheaton. There was only one ice rink, and the ice rink was about the size of a postage stamp. That was it. And I took figure skating lessons for about a little over a year. My dad came home one day and said, "Hey, some guy at my office said you might want to try this thing called hockey." "What's that?" "Sure." I'm like 7 years old now. It's 1960, whatever, 4. So I went to play hockey one Sunday morning at the old Washington Coliseum. I didn't have any equipment. I had figure skates on. I had a stick and a gloves, and I thought it was the greatest thing in the world. That was it. That was my origins of hockey.
The
first time I ever skated was in Lake Placid at the 1980 rink didn't exist. It was the 34 Olympic rink, and I have an older brother, and my mom and dad and brother and we went to Lake Placid to go skiing the day after Christmas for a few days, and I went figure skate. I went public skating in Lake Placid. The first time I ever skated was in Lake Placid, and then I took up the figure skating. Then the hockey came around, and I was pretty good athlete. Played all the sports, but for me, it was all about hockey from that first time I was on the ice.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I actually also, before I started playing hockey, I took a figure skating class in college, and that's what taught me to skate. And then everybody was like, "Hey, just put a stick in your hands, change the style of skate, and there you go."
Learn how to club people over the head, and now you're like, you're indoctrinated.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
A little side note, the Washington Coliseum, which was at 3rd and M Street, backed up to the B&O Railroad going into Union Station. It was about a 6,000 seat building. It's actually a pretty famous building. And if you go on YouTube one night or a night after the kids are in bed for you,
that's right.
Pull up the Washington Coliseum on YouTube. That was the first ever venue that the Beatles played live in the United States.
Really?
And they have the whole flipping concert on there, song by song. And you got Ringo lifting up his drum set and turning it the next way so he could face that side of the office. Everyone's in their little shirt and ties and their poodle skirts, and famous building. And they had minor league hockey in there, and they had the ABA in there. I saw Julius Erving play in there when he was in the ABA with the Virginia Flyers. So anyway, that's where I learned to play hockey 1 day a week.
Nice. You know, there was somebody who chirped at me early on in our show, Kevin, that got frustrated that I liked basketball as well. So I'm glad that you've mentioned that you actually are aware of basketball, being a hockey player in your youth. So it makes my chirping back a little more valid.
I actually have an ABA basketball, legitimate ABA red, white, and blue basketball from the 60s.
Oh, there you go.
It won't hold air anymore, but I still have it. So
that's awesome.
It's in a trunk downstairs in our storage area of our condo here.
Yeah, that's
it's not prominently displayed.
Yeah. So one of the aspects of the question too, Caden, we got to visit the new arena that's being built in Park City. We shared that experience. What were your thoughts on it? And maybe Kevin, once he's done sharing his thoughts, you can give your take on why the move and the need to build a rink in Park City. But Denz, I'm curious your thoughts. Like, how did it feel when we were walking through that place?
I mean, I kind of went back to the story, and even for the Outliers to be a part of. Obviously, you guys have been here, but it's just the whole completion of the story of being able to develop a kid moving up into junior hockey later on in life to college to the NHL. Like, we have an opportunity to actually build a homegrown Utah native professional athlete. And so just to, Kevin, to be there with you and to kind of see like, hey, I can see in, 10 years from now being like, hey, this is where so-and-so played. This is, so it was really cool to be a part of the literal groundwork.
Yeah.
And seeing that come to life. And, I just think we need a lot more ice in Utah in general. And so seeing another rink built with more ice is exciting.
Well, yeah, we played a freaking rookie league game at 11:30.
1 o'clock in the morning, I think it was. You texted me the other night.
It was a late game. Hey, we still won. We're 8-0.
We're
8-0. So, it's interesting when you talk about why Park City, why Sandy. How about anywhere?
Yeah. Good point.
The Park City rink will be is the first privately owned and built. Obviously, Ryan Smith has jumped into the arena, no pun intended now, where he's going to do a cool thing in Sandy. I think Utah County. I mean, if you said, Kev, pick a spot where you'd want to build a 2-sheet facility now, I'd probably put it on the south end of Provo, up right by the 15. But think 100%. About it. I mean, just look at the growth out to Santaquin and points.
Yep.
Santaquin's what, 15 minutes?
Yeah. 30 with a little bit from Provo.
it's not that far.
But
not
too far.
But it's interesting with the junior model. We just think somebody asked me the other day about, what are you going to do there? Well, you got the Outliers, 10 to 12 concerts a year, comedy shows, maybe some Sundance Film Festival if they don't lose their minds and leave to go to Buffalo or
I know.
Savannah. Like, how's that going to work?
Yeah.
But shoot, you can, it's going to be a little multi-purpose in Park City. It's its own market. There's a geographical divide. I actually kind of floated the idea. I mean, would it be the craziest thing if the Jazz G League played up there?
Hey.
Give them their own identity away from Salt Lake, not very far. It's a different price point. They practice and train down in the valley here anyway, and they just drive up and play their games up there. So it really provides an interesting, the Summit County, Wasatch County, and going east towards the Wyoming border. It gives them, smaller concerts and stuff like that. So, why not? And
what are your thoughts on the idea of the Olympic Oval being the practice facility currently for UHC, and Ryan Smith looking to even revamp that so it's full size?
Well, it's not. It's being revamped. It's as we speak. They're building a locker room and a little training center and offices upstairs there. And, I've seen anywhere 15 to 17,000 square feet. They're going to take the boards, the rookie camp starts on Monday.
Right.
Up in Park City for a few days. And then they're going to play a scrimmage type deal at the Delta Center on the 5th.
Free to the public.
Yeah, it's our favorite 4-letter F word, free.
Free 99.
That's right. So, and then the ice is coming out because they're bringing hoops back in, with the Jazz stuff. But they're going to take the dasher boards from the Delta Center and they're going to put them into the oval.
Oh.
And make it an NHL size rink on the Olympic hockey rink. Okay.
Huh.
And so they'll have an NHL practice size. I'm curious to see how they're going to get from the locker room, which when you walk into the oval, you turn to the left and go down all that open space there. So now they've got to cross the speed skating track when the speed skaters, is it like, are we going to put a traffic cop out there and, the hockey players stop, listen, they'll figure it out. So that's an interesting exercise temporarily until they get their building built. The Florida Panthers, when they came into existence, their practice facility was 180 feet long. It was about 80 feet wide. The one side of the boards was up against a cement wall. They had the dasher boards. They had plywood. They didn't even have glass. And that was it. They built a nice little locker room for them. And they were in there for like 4 years. The original coach, Roger Nielsen, used to live like a half a mile from the rink. He'd ride his bike to practice in flip-flops. And Roger Nielsen's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Captain Video. He was doing video before, TVs were invented, it seemed like. But so, you got a guy like Ryan Smith and of course, the Smith Entertainment and they've thought enough that it's that important. They're taking boards out of, by the way, where the boards in the Delta Center came from, right?
I don't know.
They came from the Staples Center. they were retreads from the Staples Center to the Vivint Smart Home Arena, now Delta Center. Oh. Now they're moving on to the Utah Olympic Oval, and then once that's over and done, maybe they will be retired. Maybe to the Utah Sports Hall of Fame. Who knows? They're getting a new set of dasher boards that are being built now, and by a company called Athletica. They're doing our boards, and so I've heard some of the stories about what's going on dasher board wise. So, but they're going to have an NHL practice facility, a new locker rooms, and temporarily until so. You look at the Panthers; they come in, they got a dusty old rink, and Ryan Smith's really taking care of this group, first class.
Yeah, we have all these chirpers online.
We had a ton of chirps
being like, "Oh, this is just gonna be another failure." Do you know the origins of how many teams went through crap for their first few years trying to get established? Like, I think we actually have an upper hand on some of our fellow NHL teams in the league on how they had to get started. So,
but to that point, what experience that the Coyotes went through, expecting probably more or better things, right?
Yeah.
Better facilities, better travel arrangements, that never really got better for them. And so there's a lot of people that are worried that this is a Coyotes 2.0. Yeah. But with Ryan Smith, like you mentioned, Kevin, this is not just a reboot of the Arizona/Phoenix Coyotes.
Yeah.
This is starting from day one. They've acquired the assets and the human assets, the players, the management, and that's it. And it effectively their expansion draft was the Coyotes roster.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it.
So they'll start from there and shoot. I was doing some homework on the draft tomorrow. They only have, so each team's allowed 50 contracts. 50. The Coyotes have 28.
They got space.
Okay. Now, the Coyotes have 28. Utah Hockey Club will ramp up very quickly starting tomorrow. And let's face it, what they get tomorrow and Saturday are not guys you're going to be seeing. You could make the case at number 6 that they have the player on the roster this year. Most probably not. But they'll jump into the free agent market here and they'll ramp up, and they have no defenseman signed. Everybody, they only have 5 UFAs or RFAs, so they've got to get them under contract. They have kids in the minors that certainly could step in, but so the Coyotes had 28. Utah's got 28, and that's going to ramp up very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of draft, let's maybe dive into that a bit.
Yeah, so draft is tomorrow, or when this airs, it's going to be the same day. That'll be this afternoon.
Yeah.
So yeah, walk us through your experience with the NHL draft. I mean, obviously you were drafted into the pro sports, probably very different from what we're going to experience tomorrow. But you know what? But what was it like to be drafted as a player into pro sports in general? But and what advice would you give to young players going through the draft process and what they're going to experience tomorrow?
So my experience in the day I was drafted in June of 1977, I was in DC. I was in Silver Spring, Maryland. I was with my best friend, Steve DeLeo, and Mr. DeLeo had an aerial photography mapping service. And Steve and I pull into their office, and Mr. DeLeo says to me, Kev, you got to call home, but I'm just letting you know everything's okay. And I knew it was draft day, but there's no lists. There's no rankings. There's no, nobody, there's no combines. There's nothing. So our season ended, hockey's over. It's break time and you're getting back into training now. So I said, come on, Mr. DeLeo, you got to tell me. He says, okay, you got drafted to the Minnesota North Stars in the 4th round. He said, listen, when you call home, you better act really excited. So that was it. So my mom and dad found out. My agent, Bill Waters, out of Toronto, who's still Bill and his wife Natty, and they're still great friends today. And Bill just turned 80, and he called from the draft floor, which was in a hotel in Montreal, and it's closed to the public. It's not like there teams of people running around and doing podcasts and live. It's just
sure,
at the draft. So he called my mom and dad, said, let Kevin know he's drafted by Minnesota, 4th round, 61st overall. And Steve and I said, great time to go party tonight. So we went to Georgetown and we went into a place called Clyde's, probably spent about every nickel we had. And there was no such thing as Ubers in those days. So you had to be smart about it. And Clyde's is a famous restaurant in Georgetown, and had a famous song written about it. It was a one-hit wonder by a band called Starland Vocal Band called Afternoon Delight.
Oh,
remember that song?
Oh, yeah.
There you go. So that song everyone says, oh, it's about obviously afternoon delights, right?
Yep.
It's actually about their happy hour menu. That's the name of their happy hour menu. It's called Afternoon Delight. So the song was written, and if you walk down the hallway to the men's and ladies' rooms, they have the gold record on the wall there, Starland Vocal. And so I spent my draft afternoon and night consuming plenty of food and lots of adult beverages. That was it. So
nice. What's the advice, though, that you would give to the kids that are expecting it, right?
So it's such a different draft today, and we could do 3 hours on this. I was 20 years old when I got drafted. Okay. And that was the draft age in those days. Now these kids are all trying to get into, the top junior leagues at 16 for the draft. And these kids they train from the time they're, 2.5 months old till, until their draft day. If they would go back to a 20-year-old draft and slow the process down, the maturity is better, the physical development is better. Kids, they get a chance, general managers get to see what happens in those next 2 years. These kids getting picked even tomorrow in the 1st round, I don't want to say it's throwing darts, but it's not far from it. And you hope you hit a bullseye. Right. And, a lot of them missed the whole bloody board.
Like me.
But it's advice for kids today. It's a journey. It's a long process. And virtually every year, when they announced the Hall of Fame inductees, somebody's on that list that wasn't drafted. Now, you might have Steven Stamkos went first overall in 2008 or whatever, and you just had the first time in NHL history, the 2014 draft had the top 4 picks in the Stanley Cup Finals.
I did see that.
Three of them played for Florida, so 3 of them were winners. One didn't win. And, that's never, you just think about that. Top 4 picks in the draft, and none of them have ever even, they've played in one Stanley Cups, but never been in it all at the same time. It's a journey. And why does one kid make it as a 7th rounder or an undrafted kid and Edmonton missed on a lot of first overalls.
Yeah.
And that's why they suffered for so long, and they finally obviously got McDavid and
right.
But so just advice is, listen, it's a great game. Enjoy the journey, have fun with it, work hard. Obviously starting younger helps, but enjoy the ride. It's still a sport. And I think the parents really push it, I don't want to say too hard, but kids got to want to do it. Even at our level, I find kids that come in and, yeah, we want to do this and we want to do this and we want to work so hard and we want to train every day. And they get here and they go, dang, this is too hard. I don't want to work this hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm curious. So one of the things I've noticed when I was looking at the Outliers website, actually, I went to the staff. There's quite a bit of scouts that are listed on your staff. And they seem regional.
They are.
You must plant them or you hire them in those areas. And then you say, hey, go scout these players, at least for your league. So I'm curious, what are some of the key factors that scouts, even beyond the NHL, like what do hockey scouts and teams look for when they evaluate players before a draft?
Well, on our website, we have a lot of guys regionally, and they'll reach out to us and say, hey, can I scout for you? And, we'll talk to them and send them a jacket and a hat and, they'll go watch some games. But by and large, it's funny, like many players, they say they want to do this and do that, and they really kind of fall off the back end. So I should probably do. To be honest,
I would like a jacket and a hat. I'll go scout for you.
There you go. There's some talent in Provo. Believe me, it's coming. So, particularly at 1 a.m. What's your birthday, Sam?
Yeah, you haven't seen me yet.
What's your birth year, Sam?
I think I'm a little too old for that league.
Oh, man. I hear in Russia they get birth certificates that are doctored. You might be all right, kid.
Oh man.
Anyway, so what do we look for? So for Paul Taylor, my hockey partner, the head coach, and Rich Walper owns the team, and the three of us collaborate on a lot of things, particularly the new arena and stuff like that. But Paul and I with the hockey, and Richard Bohan, our assistant coach, we watch a lot of film on this computer, my computer here. And I'll get somebody will call me and say, hey, check out the Jones kid, check out the Peters kid. And I can literally jump on a website that we subscribe to, and I can watch a whole one of his games in about 15 or 16 minutes. That his shifts are all cut up and everything. Wow, it's intriguing. First and foremost, from a hockey perspective, is skating. Kids got to be able to skate today. As a used to be diehard Miami Hurricanes fan, and you just watch, like, Jimmy Graham played basketball there for 4 years, stayed around for his 5th year, became a tight end, and was a first-round pick or a second-round pick. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame in the NFL, not the NBA.
Yeah.
What's the common thread there? He's athletic and he's running on grass or he's running on hardwood. It's a little different when Bo Jackson tries to throw on a pair of skates and learn how to skate. Yeah, Bo knows a lot of things, but Bo didn't know skating. And that's probably dating myself. That was one of the great commercial runs for Nike early on. But so obviously you got to be able to skate. Then we just look for playmaking ability and the thought process of game. How do they think the game and watching video? And we watch a little bit more and a little bit more, and we'll watch them in certain situations. And then we get on the phone and start talking to these kids. we do a lot of Zoom calls. And I know many junior teams don't want to talk to parents. I want to talk to parents. I want to know the support system. It takes a village to get a kid to whatever level he's going to get to. He's got to have a program that's a diligent program in training, a diligent program on both on ice and off ice, video work, and then you got to have a parent support system. And sadly, I tell kids with moms and dads at home. I talk to a lot of kids, and they're not as fortunate. And that doesn't mean they can't do well or whatever, and they do well, but they're just a little less fortunate. And that's society today, I think, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, obviously character becomes a big deal. My phone never turns off, as you now know.
Yeah. We text you at 1 a.m. saying, "Hey, do you want to be on the show?" And he's like, "Yes," immediately.
Right back. So my phone never turns off. But when moms, I always tease kids and I said, and I like moms and dads on, and moms want to know where their babies are going. And we have a lot to sell here. We have a beautiful community. It's a safe community, by and large. It's obviously a big city for junior hockey and stuff. So, but we don't want to be chasing kids around. I don't want to be getting phone calls at 11 o'clock at night. Johnny's not home yet. So, so character is a big deal for us, and a work ethic. We work too hard every day to help these kids get better. And we need everybody pulling on the rope in the same direction.
I love that. That's so good. So we're talking kind of what do you look for? What do you scout? Now, how does the NHL draft impact the strategy and future of a team? And could you share some examples of how draft picks in your experience or even that you've seen before have significantly changed a team's trajectory?
Well, you got to be lucky in the ping pong ball bounce, right?
Yeah.
So Chicago got the bounce, and who was it? San Jose ended up second. They got shuffled down to second. San Jose got the bounce this year. They're going to get Celebrini from Boston University. I really like him as a player. Like, I'd never tell Bill Armstrong what to do, but the dad works for the Golden State Warriors, so he was not moving out. But I really like Celebrini. But this is a really good draft, I think. And there's some really good defensemen too, and Utah Hockey Club need some defensemen.
Yeah. Right.
But we're not going to see them. We'll see them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at the Park City rink and rookie camp, and then you'll see them, in a Utah Hockey Club uniform in 2 to 3 years.
Right.
Or longer sometimes. Or you'll see them in somebody else's uniform where they moved on, just like they've acquired players,
Yeah.
So I just think that it's a challenging thing I should say it's less challenging for Bill Armstrong now because he has an ownership that one gives a rip. I'm not saying the guy in Phoenix didn't give a rip, but he didn't give them the support needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they get the support needed here, and I think they will use their assets wisely. They've got 13 picks in this draft. A first, 3 seconds, 3/3, 2 fourths, a fifth, 2 sixths, and a seventh. Next year, they got a first and 4 seconds, 2/3. The year after, they've got literally 10 second-round picks in the next 3 drafts, along with their first. So they have a lot of draft weapons, if you will. Do you want to use the pick? Yeah. Do you want to package some stuff up, move down? I saw somebody traded their 11th pick and they moved out and they took a 15th plus a second. So, there's a lot of options. And then they're $42 million under the cap.
Yeah.
So,
which is the largest cap space, I believe, still in the NHL.
Yeah, it's
available. Yeah.
Available.
They have significant dollars that they can invest. So you've gone for Bill Armstrong, and his staff has gone and to an owner that wouldn't to an owner that will.
Yeah.
I think they'll be prudent with that. They're not going to go spend to the cap right now, and that would be silly. But I think they have a chance to bring in a couple of really solid defensemen in the free agency market, maybe give them less term and more money because they have all that cap space.
Yeah.
And solidify the back end. That'll make your goalies better. They're going to see less quality shots. and allow these kids, Logan Cooley's still what, 20?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He's young.
They got a bunch of young kids here that are really good, and they just need time. And, we'll see. I hear playoffs or this and that. I don't know that they will or they won't, but I think they would certainly, they won 36 games last year. It's not like they were good until, January. They went east and then fell off the balcony real quick.
Yeah.
So
you mentioned Bill Armstrong, and one of the things that I think our listeners would just love to hear from you, Kevin, and we're getting close to the end here, but what is it like being a general manager, right? Whether it's Bill Armstrong of UHC or Kevin McCloskey of the Utah Outliers, what is it like a day in the life of being a general manager? Maybe from your perspective first, and then what you suspect would be Bill Armstrong's day in the life.
Well, that's a really fascinating question, and the answers would be dramatically different because the budgets are dramatically different.
Yeah.
Wait, you don't have
$80 million for cap space?
Are you? No. We have a long list of scouts, but they're not the list of scouts that Utah Hockey Club.
You're right. And they just got the jacket and the hat.
Yes, right. Yeah, exactly. So that's a really interesting question. So for our group, we rely a lot on advisors. A lot of by word of mouth. What's your favorite restaurant in Provo?
we look through each other. I think
most unique for favoritism is Station 22.
Yeah.
So you just pumped up Station 22's tires.
That's right.
So I get calls about kids. By the way, I'm a Fat Daddy's on Center Street. I love best pizza in Northern, best pizza in Utah. I don't think there's a lot of good pizza here, but
come to Springville. There's like every pizza place known to man, and
they aren't good though.
They're not. I mean, I'm just saying.
Well, you got that right. Pizza. So for us, we have to really rely on advisors. Hey, I got a kid for you, and we have our go-to guys, and we've learned to trust certain guys. And what happens is now I get a kid comes in and he's good and he's got good character and he performs well. And then, I had a guy sent me 3 kids last year, 2 turned out to be terrific. And 1 turned out to be not very good. So, if I could hit on 66% with every recommendation, then, I get more time in the day.
You're doing all right.
Yeah. But so from our perspective, it's a challenge. Okay. For Bill Armstrong, he's got a complete staff. They have a large budget to analyze these kids. They do the combine. They go there and they know which hair is turned and combed perfectly or not. I'm going to be interested. There's a kid named Trevor Conley that'll go in the first round tomorrow. I've heard he could go as high as 8th, and I've heard he could fall out of the first round. Playing the USHL in Tri-City. I've seen him play live. Phenomenal player, skilled, and now they're the alleged character issues. So where does that kid end up? And I say alleged really strongly because I'm not privy to any of that, and each team will have to make up their own mind on what they're going to believe, not believe, and their sources and their research, but he's the kid that I probably most would be interested to see where he's going to slot in tomorrow. And, just because of the alleged off ice challenges. I don't know what they are. I know I've looked him up, and I know he played on several different youth teams and different youth programs. Was he not a good teammate? And these guys, they have the resources to go do the homework.
Yeah.
For me, I got to rely on, Sam and Caden to say, okay, that'd be okay,
Well, maybe you shouldn't send me a jacket and a hat.
You just put the pressure on.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm out.
Yep. But we said you had, you're gonna wear them forwards on the show.
Oh, there we go. Now we got it.
So that's a rule that we have on our team.
You have to wear your forward?
Bus, if you're wearing your, number one, we only allow outlier hats.
Of course.
And secondly, when you get off the bus, if you choose to wear a hat, it must be forward.
Okay.
Professionalism.
Yes. What was the, I mean, is that the purpose, just to show that level of professionalism?
Absolutely. You know, we wear shirts and ties to game. You know,
excellent.
When kids come out after them, they're going to have their tie on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't care if they were in Casper or in, you know, Idaho Falls, they're going to walk out of the back of the building. They're going to visit with their mom and dad if they're there, or most probably not visit with anybody, and they can get on the bus and then they can change. So
there you go.
Hats are always worn forward.
Nice. Denz, any final questions, thoughts for?
Well, you know, Kevin, I'm curious to, of all the news of what's been developing with UHC, brand colors, imaging has been solidified and kind of been formalized. The mascot and the nickname not, but what about the identity of the colors? Curious your take on it and how they've kind of established that, at least for now. It doesn't, I don't think they said it's permanent, but they kind of said it was permanent.
I was just going to say, so those colors look remarkably similar to the basketball team's rebrand.
Yeah.
It came out with 4 choices, right? So with the baskets, with the hoops.
Yeah.
So
right.
I find it fascinating that it's not black, it's
mountain black.
It's not blue, it's
mountain blue, rock black, salt white.
and
That's
salt
right.
white. I've like salt white has never come across my
That's not a crayon in your crayon.
Crayon and salt white. So, but it's fascinating, and I'm not making fun of it, but it just goes to show you the attention to detail.
Yeah.
That Smith Entertainment, you know, the folks that they're relying on. I've never heard of, what is it, black? I forgot already.
Rock black.
I've never heard of rock. I mean, you guys have black t-shirts on, right? I have a blue.
Yeah, that's right.
But it just really goes to show you how much time and effort that they're spending on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not surprised that it's Utah Hockey Club the first year. I guess you could say follow the money. It's a lot of merch sales.
Yep.
Then when the name officially comes out, you're gonna duplicate that. However, I think they're smart and taking their time before they roll out a name that they go, oh, you know, my personal hope is it's not the Yeti. My wife thinks it's going to be the Yeti, so we have a disagreement in the McCloskey household. It's okay. She's entitled to be wrong.
Exactly.
That's right. But anyway, so it's been a fun way that they've run it. I'm sure they got a pretty good idea of what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What do these colors fit in? I mean, I don't know that, you know, the outlaw bandito guy goes with blue and
black and salt white.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You know, I think they've done a masterful job with that, and I think they've engaged the public, and it's been a fun process. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. You know. So
yeah, it definitely will. It's you know, at first, you know, a couple weeks ago, and it was just like, oh, you know, I wasn't a big fan of the sky blue, and you know it. And I said this on the episode a couple times ago. It's just like, but once something's been established, once you choose to name your child, right? Once the brand identity starts forming, you start growing an attachment to it. And I'm already all in on the colors. And I'm like, nope, I love them. Yeah. And you know, 2 weeks have gone by, and I'm like, all right, let's do it.
Well, I had a chirp ready for the show, and the whole premise is a first look at the Utah sweaters on Fanatics when they came out with the swag. Immediately, Overall Machine 6959 said, "That's." We'll beep that out. Glad they're temporary. And then more people began to say, "What a bore! This is horrible, so bland." So, you know, there's people that don't like it. But Kevin,
Sure.
I appreciate what you mentioned is the fact that even with the inaugural season, one time go around, they're still making it feel like they care and they want it to be something for people, even though they know that, yeah, 1 year from now, it's going to be different. So,
Well, I'm curious to see when they're going to announce it. Like, how deep into the season is it going to be? In time for Christmas?
Right.
Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Black Friday?
Yeah.
I don't know.
If it includes Rock Black, then
Is
Black,
it going
Black.
to be? Yeah, that's right. With the theme there, is it going to be deeper into the season? Will it be after the season?
Right.
It's going to be curious to see how long they can, hold off before, they're going to roll it out. And, will they have it? Will they have the mascot before the end of the year at the games?
yeah.
Who will the
That's
mascot be?
interesting. Here's something really out of left field, Kevin, and then we'll let you go to bed. If you go to bed, I don't know. You probably just stay up all the time. You'll sleep when you're dead, right? Uh, but I play NHL 23 on the Xbox. I'm 34, so I play Xbox. But I'm the GM of the Coyotes. I relocated them in the game. And one of the things I had to do for the season coming up in the first season of the Mammoths, I chose the Mammoths. That's my favorite. I had to select nights that had special giveaways and occasions. So I'm curious, or I'm wondering if that's the process that GMBA has to go through and say, yeah, this night is when we should release this thing. Is that a GM item or is that probably
Ownership item?
Yeah, ownership.
I would say that is a Ryan and Ashley Smith.
Yeah.
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 But with certainly a lot of input from their team.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
listen, they probably sit at home at night and they're having a cup of tea or Diet Coke and they're going,
A
you see this conversation. Hey, honey, what do you think? Should we just release that on February 12th? No, I think February the 29th. Well, it's not a leap year. So what are we going to do?
True.
It's
in their press conference, they talked about how
dinner discussions,
the actual dinner tables were like, we should buy a hockey, or Ryan was like, I think we should buy the hockey team. What? We got to stop having conversations at the dinner table.
Oh, man, what's next? MLB, apparently.
Well, not by then. It's Larry H. Miller.
Oh, yes. That's Larry H. Miller.
Not Smith, though, to do
baseball. Yeah.
I don't know. I hope they stop at hockey.
Yeah, for sure.
Whoever's doing teams,
Yeah, that's right.
You got the Jazz and you got the obviously the Utah Hockey Club. I'm really, really excited to see what they're going to do with these arenas, having been and currently I'm involved in construction.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier doing it from new, even though I'm only 134 feet wide and the rink's 85 feet wide. But we've squeezed a lot in as you've seen. But to cut off the end of the building, I'm sitting there looking to see the angle of the seats and how they're going to have to push the buildings out. And I'm really fascinated to see how this is going to unfold. I think that obviously they know they'll do a good job with it. And then what's going to happen out in front? They built the big plaza out front and they're going to probably push it right across the street into that big parking lot with your hotels or condos and bars and restaurants and, entertainment and, how far is that all going to go?
Yeah.
It will really rejuvenate, repurpose downtown. And I thought the opening press conference I thought Ryan Smith was really, really good in saying anybody can go take 100 acres and build a building from scratch. That's easy. You call up Populous Architects, pull me one off the rack. Here's what we'll do. But this is going to take a lot of creativity, a lot of thought from a lot of people with input. And I'm really excited to see how this is going to turn out. And I think it'll be amazing in the end. So
same.
Agreed.
Super excited we get to be a part of it too. Like we're a part of this movement.
Kids will grow up with this too, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's
what's
exciting.
their bedtime right now?
My kids?
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to be over here sooner to record this, but some of them didn't want to fall asleep. So
just remember, it's hockey night in Utah. Come out.
Right.
that's right. And actually, I am Denz and I are heading to the hockey draft party. Are you going to be there, Kevin?
I'll actually be out front. Come say hello.
Okay.
Nice.
Excellent. I'm going to bring my son. I know Denz is bringing his kid.
The KSL truck or whatever out in front. So,
oh, awesome.
we'll be
And
talking
then
smack about the Colorado Avalanche,
Yeah. Well, if you do watch episode 9, we were actually in Denver looking for a Yeti. Couldn't find one. So
Does it exist?
Exactly.
Did you see someone post on social? They're like, I found the Yeti, and it was this old dude, such long white hair all over his back and stuff, and they're like, found him.
Gross.
Gross.
So the one thing I'm a little bummed at is obviously this team is in the Central Division.
Mm-hmm.
So they get the St. Louis's, the Chicagos, the Winnipegs. I kind of wish, and maybe it will change one day, but I kind of wish they were in the West.
Mhm.
With the Kings and the Ducks and the Golden Knights, but it is what it is. And
yeah,
there might be a realignment if we find a team back in Arizona. Maybe
I feel like pro sports don't look to realign too often. It's a lot of work, I feel like. But it would be awesome.
If they ever, depends on where expansion comes to. If it comes back to Phoenix, then we'll see what happens there. But that ship obviously sailed, I guess, the other day with
the announcement.
Morello just being like, "See ya,
I'm out." Well, and apparently he wants to move the Roadrunners to Reno near his casino. So
to Reno,
if it's still the Phoenix, what's that?
They don't have a building in Reno. That's his problem in Phoenix.
That's been his problem for 20 years.
That's been his problem the whole time.
The Lawler Event Center on the campus does not have a floor big enough for hockey.
Oh,
but they are going to play, I'm told, 5 games at Arizona State at Mullet. So they're going to stay in Tucson. And this is an important deal because this is Utah Hockey Club's farm team.
Right, right.
So, it matters. And, be curious to see what happens after year 1 and if they get purchased and relocated, I don't know. But I guess the land auction has now been postponed and this guy's now saying, I'm done with hockey. And I'm saying, like, shoot, he's like Steve Miller, go on, take the money and run.
Take the money and run. Nice, dude. I like that.
Yeah. And, I figure for his 5 years that he owned the team, he did pretty well financially.
Yeah. Okay, well, Kevin, one final question. With the draft coming up, with the research you've done, you're a GM yourself. Who do you pick at number 6? This is your last question of the
best player available.
He's like, easy.
That's an easy one. Every GM knows you just pick the best.
So personally, for me, I think the guy that I really like is not going to be available. He's the right shot D from Michigan State. He's from Belarus. The kid's a 6'3" defenseman, skates really, really well. Levashonov from Artem Levashonov. I think he'll be gone. So there's a kid over Zev, and I don't know. I got to get the pronunciations.
Boyam, yeah.
So he's not a very big defenseman. I think he's about 5'11", but he's a kid that had 50 points as a freshman at Denver this year.
Wow.
Defends pretty well, I hear, and I'm going to watch some film on him when we hang up here. Just
nice.
Know more about him because that's a kid that's kind of piqued my attention, and I think they have a reasonable chance he'll be available, and I'm guessing they're going to go defense first. But if those 2 D are gone, then maybe they jump back into to a forward. There's a kid that's down the way called his name is Cole Iserman, who played at the National Development Program, and he's a big goal scorer, and he's slotted, I think, in the consensus is at 12. So that's probably maybe a bit of a reach, unless maybe Bill trades down if he wants goal scoring, and that's never a bad thing to have more goal scoring.
Yeah.
Do you think Ziev is worth a trade down, or even the first one you mentioned?
A trade up?
Yeah, trade up. That's what I meant. Trade up to get those opportunities.
These guys got a chance to interview them all at the combine a couple weeks ago. So, that's hard for any of us to really say. But I think a big right shot D that can put up points and can defend well is never a bad thing to have.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yep.
And you heard it here, folks, on UTalk Hockey. Kevin McCloskey giving us the truth bombs and what to expect potentially for the NHL draft. Kevin, thank you so much.
Hold on. I have one question for you guys. The big re-signing yesterday.
Spicy tuna.
Spicy tuna. A 3-year deal. That probably endeared Utah Hockey Club to everybody that was at the building that night, of which 100%. You guys were there with your families.
Yep. Yeah.
You're going, like, that guy is high energy.
Oh, yeah. We absolutely. My son was with me when that event happened, and he's like, that's my favorite. Even fun fact, I used to live in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where he's from. So Spicy Tuna has a special place in my heart because he lived in the same place that I did in Canada.
Did they fish him out of the Atlantic Ocean?
Exactly. Exactly.
Where's the name come from?
But I actually liked, and maybe we can end on this, to that point, Liam tweeted on X, whatever he said, after he had signed that agreement. He said, "Me and my family are thrilled to be heading to Utah. Thank you to everyone who's reached out. I'm excited to be continuing the journey with this amazing group of people. I'm grateful for this opportunity, and work doesn't stop. We are going to have the Delta Center buzzing. Let's go." And that's what's so exciting. We have a hockey team in the NHL, and they're here to play for us, and we are here to cheer for them. And that's just exciting.
And one of the great nicknames too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Spicy too. So, it's going to be a chant heard throughout the valleys of Utah.
Well, you're about 90, well, maybe 100, 105 days away from opening faceoff.
Boy, we are counting down the days.
And you're about 83 days away from the Outliers opener.
Hey,
nice.
And that was one thing I wanted to end on as well. Make sure all you listeners out there, go check out the Outliers. They're going to have a new arena built. They're playing in Park City. The timeline on that, Kevin, is that going to be ready for season time?
No, we're going to do a split season this year. We'll open at the A Court in West Valley. You guys are adult hockey players. I'm sure you've made the rounds to the rinks. So we'll spend half a season in the A Court. We'll practice there. Our kids will bill it in the valley here, and then we'll move up once we get the building done. We're estimating to be able to play 11 to 13 games in the new building plus playoffs.
Awesome! Nice. I can't wait to watch the first Outliers game what's the hotel that's right beside it? The resort?
Yeah, Black Rock.
Black Rock. It's a nice place.
Black
Rock.
Jeez, you're right on brand, dude.
Yeah. How about the UTalk Coliseum?
Oh, I can only imagine, right?
Yeah, right.
Going off.
The UTalk Coliseum.
That's right.
You go.
That'd be awesome. Dreams, they're going to come true.
We are working on sponsorships, naming rights, and stuff like that now. So we'll see where that ends up.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Well, Kevin, really, man, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Yeah. Really appreciate it. All your insights, your background. You're an awesome guy, and we're glad we've met you. So we'll see you at the event. We'll see you at some of the games for the Outliers
tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's right. At the event for draft, and we'll see
pick number 1 for the Utah Hockey Club.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, that concludes our very special episode of the UTalk Hockey Podcast. I am Champ. And this is Denz. Come on. What?
We're running off. No.
Yeah, we're running on fumes at this point.
Yeah. So as a reminder, this has come up on our social media threads just real quick. Again, we have people reaching out who are not us on our ticket giveaway for the preseason. UTalkHockey.com is the URL that you would have found that from, but we're going to message directly. That's going to happen next week. By the way, this is our final episode of this
off season for us. We had to end it with a bang, which is Kevin McCloskey.
Yep. And what we're going to do is we'll resume at the beginning of the NHL season, a little bit before preseason. But we will be giving away those tickets next week or the week after. So be commenting, be liking, be subscribing, because we're going to finalize on that decision soon. And there's a lot of people that have already said, like, oh, one's at the Maverick Center. The Delta Center is going to only have one preseason home game. We are season ticket holders. So if it happens to not work out because of the incredible demand that Utah is showing up with, we will give away one of our season tickets pair in replace of the preseason, which I think is a better deal if that happens. So
you're kind of hoping that it doesn't work out so that you actually get.
So you're like, I hope that they can't give them more. Yeah. Anyways, we will take care of whoever wins, and that's a promise. So
absolutely. And if you see a UTalk Hockey Podcast shirt at the NHL draft party, and
tomorrow,
you take a picture with us and post it on social and tag UTalk Hockey, that will enter you to win actual regular season tickets. Am I cool saying that?
I guess
so. I just said
I guess we're gonna give.
Can't take it back now. Sorry.
Yeah, we're gonna be giving quite a few tickets away. We want, again, we're here to 10x the love of hockey in Utah by having this podcast, which means we're gonna send people to the games. So
that's right. Well, now to finally officially close out, I am Champ.
I am Denz.
And you have listened to the final episode of the off season of the UTalk Hockey Podcast. Thanks, Kevin. And thank you, everybody. Good night.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the UTalk Hockey Podcast. Be sure to follow and subscribe so you know when the UTalk Hockey Podcast begins again in the inaugural season of the Utah Hockey Club.